Welcome to the Art Project. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you enjoy this video or if it's helpful, please hit the like button for me. We're going to do a little project that is based on the next assignment from Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, dealing with negative space. So just a quick understanding of this particular part of the book. Negative space is important to drawing because your brain does not have a name for the negative space. In other words, if your brain doesn't know the name of it, it cannot formulate a symbol for it like your left brain is used to doing a lot. So this is really helpful in learning how to draw. However, this particular exercise is just really about teaching students what negative space is as opposed to positive space. So in this picture, I am tracing a bunch of objects, all positive space objects, right? And the object needs to be something that you can readily understand from its silhouette because you're not going to be doing any details. I traced 10 different objects around the paper, trying to make sure that 2 went off each side of the page. That's going 2 off the right side, 2 off the left side, 2 off the top, 2 off the bottom, and also overlapped each other. When they were overlapping each other, I wanted to be careful for them not to hide what they were. In other words, if I overlap the fork, I didn't want to overlap all the tines or you wouldn't know it was a fork. So after I did that, then I started tracing all of the negative space and only the negative space. I didn't trace anything inside any positive space. Now I did trace the positive space because you cannot help but trace positive space when you're tracing negative space. But I didn't trace any of the positive space that was inside any of the other positive space. You may have to look at the image, pause it, and look at it and figure it out. When I did this though, I kind of messed up and I had to redo my picture at some point. And so redoing it gave me an idea. And this idea is for a larger project dealing with negative space. And I think you're going to like this project a lot. It turns out pretty good when you're done. And it's just kind of a lot of fun. And it doesn't involve a whole lot of serious drawing. And the way the project works is this. And you're going to have to figure this out on your own. It's a thinking process. But what I did was I traced my original drawing. I put it up on a window and I traced it onto another sheet of paper backwards. And then when I was done with that, I put them side by side so that they're sort of a mirror image of it. Here it is right here. I'm putting them side by side so that they're like a mirror image of one another. And then I'm going to put up another sheet of paper on top of the one on the right and another sheet of paper on top of the one on the left. And I'm going to trace those. Unfortunately, I lost the video footage for that, so you are kind of on your own here. Then you put them together and you tape them on the back. When you tape them on the back, you want to make sure that you're taping them in such a way that the images on the front are matched up on the edges. And you'll see what I mean when I flip it over. They are mirrored images of each other and upside down and backwards of each other. And you can do this just about any way. There's like 4 different ways that you can place them together like this. And I just kind of kept flipping them around until I got the composition that I liked. And that was so that the mannequin heads were all facing each other in the middle and so on. Then I went through and I filled it with watercolor. I started in the middle with yellow and went all the way around. That way everything that is in one picture is the same in the other picture, pretty close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but close. And then I started adding orange to it. And by the way, I kept adding a little bit of orange to the yellow so that I had kind of a yellowish orange. And then I started adding red to it. And I did this all the way out until I got to the outer edges. Adding red to it eventually. You'll see in the video how that worked out. I want to talk a little bit more though about negative space. So obviously when you go to draw something, you're not always going to be just looking at the negative space. But the negative space is helpful to trick the brain into drawing something that it doesn't know the name of, and trick the brain into drawing what's accurate. So for example, your left brain wants to be in charge of everything. This is from the book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. I'm not making this up. This is just what I read. Your left brain is sort of in charge, and it's been in charge for a really long time. And so it doesn't give up control very easily. So if you wanted to draw a picture of an apple, your left brain would look at the apple and say, oh, I've seen that apple before, or I know what an apple looks like. I can do that. And it would start to draw, and your apple that you draw would look very much like a symbol of an apple. The same thing with your hand or faces or any of that. That's why the way you've been drawing as a student, if you're not very good at drawing, if you're just now learning, the way you've been drawing has not been working out too well for you. Your left brain has been taking over. So what you want to do is you want to trick the left brain into giving up control and allowing the right brain to draw what it sees. So negative space doesn't have a name. Like an apple has a name, your hand has a name, but negative space doesn't. So if you can trick your brain into drawing the negative space instead of the positive space, then your drawing will turn out a little bit better. You will start to learn how to use your right brain for this instead of your left brain. Well, this project is not really about that part yet. This is just about the negative space. So we're learning what negative space is. In the painting, or in this picture, I'm only painting in the negative space. This way I know and I understand what negative space is. I did not paint in any of the positive space. You see the mannequin there, it's not painted in. You see the fork there, it's not painted in. You see the paintbrush, it's not painted in. All I'm painting in is the area around all of the positive images. And the area around the positive images is the negative space. Alright, sorry if this is sounding redundant, but basically there's negative space and there's positive space. This lesson is about learning the difference between negative space and positive space. And this is just sort of an introduction to the next exercise where we are going to draw negative space from observation. So give it a thumbs up if this video has been helpful in any way, and tap the little bell so you'll get notified of future videos, and you'll see the one where we're going to draw negative space from observation. It's kind of a trick, kind of a feat to it. Hope to get that video out in a few days. Anyway, this particular picture, one page was 9 by 12, so once they're all taped together it ends up being an 18 by 24 inch little work of art. So I think it turned out real good. I decided that in the end here that I would add some black to the red to make it even darker and give it more contrast on the edges, and I think it turned out pretty good when I was done. Let me know down in the comments below what you would do differently. If you want to see some of my student images, you can go to the website, my teacher website. In the description down below you'll find a link to it. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'll try and post some pictures there as well. So that's it. Let me know how yours turns out, and go make some art.